Tesla was never just a car company. It was a movement, a symbol of clean energy, innovation, and disruption. But part of Tesla's success has always been tied to Elon Musk's larger-than-life persona. And that's where things get complicated. Because when your CEO's personal brand becomes inseparable from the corporate brand, every public comment becomes a strategic risk. Tesla. The name itself conjures images of sleek, futuristic vehicles gliding silently along highways, a testament to human ingenuity and a promise of a sustainable future. More than just an automotive manufacturer, Tesla rapidly ascended to become a cultural phenomenon, a beacon of clean energy, technological prowess, and a defiant spirit of innovation. Its journey was not merely about building electric cars. It was about igniting a movement, challenging the status quo, and reimagining transportation for the 21st century. However, interwoven into the very fabric of Tesla's meteoric rise has always been the towering, often polarizing, figure of its CEO, Elon Musk. A visionary entrepreneur with a penchant for audacious goals and a direct, often unfiltered communication style, Musk's personal brand became inextricably linked with the corporate identity of Tesla. His pronouncements, his online presence, his very persona became a significant, arguably defining aspect of the Tesla narrative. And this is precisely where the tightrope walk began. When the personal brand of a company's chief executive officer becomes so deeply intertwined with the corporate brand itself, a precarious dynamic emerges. Every tweet, every interview, every public utterance from the CEO transforms into a potential strategic risk, capable of either propelling the company forward or sending shockwaves through its carefully constructed image. The line between the individual and the institution blurs, and the consequences of personal actions begin to cast a long shadow over the corporate landscape. The political pendulum swings. The initial shifts were subtle, almost imperceptible to the casual observer. A series of eyebrow-raising tweets, often delivered with a characteristic blend of humor and bluntness. A public disagreement with regulatory bodies, framed as a battle against bureaucratic inertia stifling innovation. A defiant stance to reopen Tesla's Fremont factory during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, citing the essential nature of his company's work while public health concerns loomed large. These early instances, while generating some controversy, were often rationalized as the actions of a quirky genius, an unconventional leader unafraid to speak his mind and challenge established norms. Many early Tesla enthusiasts, drawn to the company's disruptive spirit, perhaps even found a certain rebellious charm in Musk's iconoclastic approach. But the narrative began to shift, the pendulum began to swing with greater amplitude. Political endorsements for specific candidates followed, injecting a partisan element into the previously innovation-focused discourse. Cultural commentary on a range of social issues became more frequent and more pointed, often aligning with a particular ideological viewpoint. And then came the seismic event. Elon Musk's acquisition of Twitter, the influential social media platform now known as X. What once felt like the eccentricities of a brilliant mind slowly coalesced into a discernible pattern of CEO political behavior. This evolution did not go unnoticed. It began to polarize Tesla's customer base, a demographic initially united by environmental consciousness and technological enthusiasm, but diverse in their political affiliations. The media, ever watchful, turned its gaze with increasing scrutiny, dissecting every tweet and pronouncement for its political implications. Suddenly, Tesla found itself navigating a terrain far more complex than the electric vehicle market. The company, built on the promise of a sustainable future, was now entangled in the volatile and often unforgiving currents of the political crossfire. The initial unifying vision began to fracture along political fault lines, raising critical questions about the long-term impact on the brand and its loyal customers. The erosion of loyalty. This is the juncture where the direct business impact becomes starkly apparent. Tesla's pioneering success was, in its early days, fueled by a passionate and dedicated community of early adopters. This group was largely characterized by progressive values, a deep commitment to environmental sustainability, and a shared desire to challenge the established automotive industry. They saw Tesla not just as a car but as a statement, a symbol of their values. However, as Elon Musk's public pronouncements and online behavior increasingly aligned with right-wing talking points and conservative ideologies, a significant segment of that core demographic began to feel alienated. The very values that had initially drawn them to the brand seemed to clash with the personal and political stances of its leader. The consequences were not merely anecdotal. We witnessed a tangible decline in consumer loyalty among this segment. Social media sentiment, once overwhelmingly positive and enthusiastic, began to shift, with expressions of disappointment, disillusionment, and even outright condemnation becoming more prevalent. Simultaneously, competitors like Rivian, Lucid, and even legacy automakers making strides in the EV market began to appear as increasingly attractive alternatives for consumers whose purchasing decisions were influenced by more than just the vehicle's technology. This situation serves as a compelling, real-world example of how political bias can significantly affect consumer behavior, particularly within the technology sector, where brand identity often carries strong cultural and aspirational weight. The once unbreakable bond between Tesla and its early, ideologically aligned customer base began to fray under the weight of its CEO's increasingly political persona, investor jitters, and market volatility. The ripples of this evolving narrative inevitably reached the investment community. Initially captivated by Tesla's disruptive technology and exponential growth potential, investors began to voice concerns. The questions being raised in boardrooms and analyst calls became increasingly pointed. Why was the CEO, the very figurehead responsible for driving innovation and operational excellence, seemingly dedicating a significant amount of his time to posting often controversial memes and engaging in political debates on social media? Was this a productive use of his time and energy, or a distraction from the core business objectives? More worryingly, the correlation between Tesla's stock price and Elon Musk's tweets became a subject of intense scrutiny. The company's valuation, once seemingly impervious to traditional market forces, began to exhibit a heightened sensitivity to the CEO's online activity. A single tweet could trigger massive valuation swings, often unrelated to the company's fundamental performance or earnings reports. This volatility understandably unnerved institutional investors, who prioritize stability and long-term growth based on tangible business metrics. The unpredictable nature of a CEO whose personal opinions could directly impact the company's market capitalization became a significant source of risk. In today's increasingly interconnected and socially aware markets, the reputation risks associated with a politicized leadership are no longer abstract concerns. They have become quantifiable factors that can be just as damaging to investor confidence and market valuation as missed earnings targets or production delays. The Elon effect on Tesla's stock price became a stark reminder of this new reality: the price of polarization. This is the critical juncture where the leadership lesson hits with the greatest force. When a chief executive officer chooses to blend their personal political views with the business operations and public image of a publicly traded company, the ramifications extend far beyond mere public relations challenges. They are, in essence, placing at risk the very foundations of the company's brand positioning. A brand that once stood for innovation and sustainability now carries the added weight of its leaders' often divisive political stances. This can alienate key stakeholder groups, including not only customers but also employees, partners, and even potential future talent. The erosion of stakeholder trust is a significant business risk. Employees may feel uncomfortable working for a company whose leaders' values clash with their own. Partners may hesitate to align themselves with a brand embroiled in political controversy. Potential customers may choose competitors whose values they perceive to be more aligned with their own. Ultimately, the long-term viability of the company can be jeopardized. A brand fractured by political polarization struggles to maintain a unified identity and appeal to a broad market. The strategic fallout from such controversy is no longer a theoretical possibility. It has become a measurable factor impacting sales, brand perception, and investor confidence. Regardless of individual agreement or disagreement with Elon Musk's personal views, the fundamental principle remains: the CEO of a public company bears an enormous symbolic and financial responsibility. Their actions and words carry significant weight, and the decision to inject personal politics into the corporate sphere carries substantial and potentially detrimental consequences. Navigating the new leadership landscape. So, as we dissect this complex situation, what crucial lessons can future CEOs glean from Tesla's experience? First and foremost, establish a clear and discernible separation between your personal identity and your corporate role. While authenticity is valued, the CEO of a major public company operates under a different level of scrutiny and responsibility. Maintaining a degree of brand neutrality, especially in increasingly politically polarized markets, becomes a strategic imperative. your primary duty is to serve the interests of the company and its diverse stakeholders, not to use the corporate platform to amplify personal political beliefs. Second, recognize that visibility, while often beneficial for brand building, is a double-edged sword. In the age of instant communication and pervasive social media, every word and action of a CEO is amplified and scrutinized. Exercise extreme caution and consider the potential impact of your personal pronouncements on the corporate brand. A seemingly innocuous tweet can trigger a cascade of negative consequences. Third, remember that your role as CEO carries immense symbolic and financial weight. Your words move markets, influence consumer sentiment, and can either build or erode trust. The microphone that comes with the CEO title should be used judiciously and with a deep understanding of the potential ramifications. Elon Musk's leadership style is undeniably unique, a blend of visionary brilliance and unconventional communication. He may indeed be a one-of-a-kind leader who has defied conventional business norms in many ways. However, even a figure as influential and disruptive as he is not immune to the fundamental consequences of overexposure and the risks of intertwining personal politics with corporate identity. Conclusion: the autopsy verdict. Tesla, despite the headwinds generated by the politicization of its leadership, remains a formidable powerhouse in the automotive and energy sectors. Its technological advancements and market influence are undeniable. However, this detailed autopsy reveals a critical truth that transcends any single company or leader. True leadership in a public corporation is about far more than just vision and innovation. It demands discipline, particularly in the realm of public communication. The ability to navigate complex social and political landscapes with sensitivity and a clear focus on the company's core mission is paramount. When business decisions, brand messaging, and stakeholder relations become entangled with the personal political ideologies of the CEO, the resulting outcomes can be unpredictable and potentially damaging, even for the most groundbreaking and disruptive companies on Earth. Let the Tesla narrative serve as a potent lesson for every current and aspiring CEO. In the high-stakes environment of the boardroom and the public sphere, the company's mission, its brand, and its diverse stakeholders must come first. The personal microphone, however tempting to wield, must always come second, carefully considered and strategically deployed, with the long-term health and stability of the organization as the ultimate guiding principle. To all business leaders navigating this increasingly complex world, reflect on the delicate balance between personal conviction and corporate responsibility. Engage in thoughtful consideration of how your public pronouncements might be perceived by your diverse customer base, your dedicated employees, and your crucial investors. Prioritize the unifying principles of your company's mission and strive to build bridges rather than inadvertently creating divides. The long-term success and sustainability of your organization may very well depend on your ability to lead with both vision and judicious restraint in an era where every voice, especially that of the CEO, carries extraordinary weight. Tesla remains a powerhouse, but this autopsy reveals a critical truth. Leadership is more than vision, it's discipline. And when business decisions become entangled with political ideology, the results can be unpredictable, even for the most disruptive companies on Earth. Let this be a lesson for every CEO. In the boardroom, the mission comes first. The microphone comes second.